Okay, so this is a little video about the Leica R8, R9 series of cameras. Essentially this is about the differences between the two. This is a Leica R9 fitted with a 28 to 70mm Vario Elmar f3.5/45 lens. So the cameras are essentially the same. There's not a lot of difference between them visually, but there are a few things under the bonnet that are worth noting. Whether you actually need them or not, it's up to you. But the R8 is a lot cheaper than the R9. R9s are quite hard to come by. This one was in excellent condition. There's hardly a mark on it. There's one tiny mark which, for the price, isn't worth talking about really. So just go over the top plate, which is, you've got your standard rewind crank. This doesn't open the back. There's a lock on the side there. You've got your mode dial, which is also the on-off switch. There's actually a lock on this which you don't get on the R8. Apparently the photographers of the time thought it was too easy to knock this dial off, whatever mode you'd set it to, but that seems quite a stiff movement to me. I can't see how that would happen, but anyway, they put a lock on that. Next to that is the flash shoe. It's TTL. On this you get high speed flash, which you didn't get on the R8. Next to that there's a frame counter, which you also didn't get on the R8. There's a shutter speed dial, which is adjustable in half stops, which is quite unusual for a film camera. On there's the program shift, which normally it's set to 30 where the little P is. You can adjust that up or down. You don't actually get to choose the shutter speed. If you say 1/1000th of a second, the camera might only be able to set 1/250th of a second, but it does allow you to shift it to a degree. Then there's the film rewind and shutter cocking lever. Underneath that there's a rewind button, and then there's a multi-exposure switch, which I don't know if you can actually see that on the video, but when the meter's running, the frame counter flashes. It also flashes on the back of the camera and in the viewfinder, just to let you know that you've got a multiple exposure set. On the back of the camera, pretty much the same as the R8. It's a film window, adjustment for the exposure override. There's a diopter adjuster there. You can also fit a diopter lens underneath this cover, which is moved by pressing that little switch there. There's also a viewfinder curtain, which is useful. There's the small LCD, which gives you your film speed, exposure, battery condition, and also a few of the warnings when you've set an adjustment. I'll just do that. That's like one stop over, so you've got +1 stop exposure, and then to get rid of that you push it in the opposite direction and hold it, and it zeros. Right, and then underneath this small flap here, there's you can adjust the ISO speed from the DX setting. There's a 2-second and a 12-second self timer, and also something that the R8 doesn't have is a backlight. So you hold the two buttons in, and you might be able to see that. It's a bit bright, so you might not see it. Hold them in to cancel it, and that stays on all the time until the camera's actually turned off. And then there's a small window there which allows you to see whether the film's winding on properly. Moving to the front. Oh, I missed out the pretty important item here. In front of the shutter speed dial there's a metering adjustment. There's 3 options: a spot metering, matrix, center weighted. I tend to use it on the matrix all the time. On the spot metering and center weighted, you can actually lock the exposure, which you can't do on matrix because it's much more intelligent than a human being and it doesn't need any kind of exposure adjustment. So it says in the book anyway. Well, it doesn't, but I made that bit up. And then over on the front there's an enormously long travel stop down lever, depth of field preview, whichever you want to call it. I don't know if you can actually see it in the viewfinder. Just stop that down to 22. You might be able to see the iris close down and then how slowly it opens again. That's a bit weird. When you're looking through the viewfinder, it's like the whole world lights up. It's a very strange. I've never seen a stop down lever that works like that before, but it does its job, so hey ho. I suppose Leica know best. There's the lens release, which you just press oops and turn, line up the red dots, pretty much standard. Over here there's a mirror lockup, that's locked. There's a little up arrow, so quite easy. And then down here you've got your first and second curtain flash sync, and underneath this little cover here there's a PC socket for studio flash, and on the bottom you've got loads of contacts. There's a rewind, sprag, advanced sprag, tripod socket, and the battery release. Now I have a couple of issues with this camera, specifically in how lumpy it is. I mean, it looks very smooth and rounded and you think, oh, that looks like it might be comfortable to hold. It actually isn't. I've got a couple, it might just be my fingers and hands, but whenever I hold it, this enormous strap lug sits on the joint of my finger. It's quite painful after a while. Also these switches and buttons and get in the way. And then finally, I don't know why, I've never seen a hinge quite as enormous as this. There, the bottom of the hinge, when I'm holding the camera, oops, sits right on the muscle in my thumb, and it can be quite painful, but there is a way around that, and it's to fit a motor drive. It solves all those problems and it converts the camera into a really, really nice, comfortable thing to hold. Anyway, that's it for now. Laters. Bye.